Bernie Sanders is back. The Vermont senator jumping in the race for president. Sanders came out swinging in his announcement, taking swipes at President Trump and promising to finish what he started during his 2016 run.
Together, you and I and our 2016 campaign began the political revolution. Now it is time to complete that revolution and implement the vision that we fought for. Our campaign is not only about defeating Donald Trump, the most dangerous president in modern American history. It is not only about winning the Democratic nomination and the general election. Our campaign is about transforming our country.
But does Sanders have a better shot this time around? The self-described socialist says his progressive agenda is becoming more popular amongst Democrats.
Many of the ideas that I talked about, Medicare for all, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, making public colleges and universities tuition free. All of those ideas, people will say, oh, Bernie, they're so radical, they are extreme. The American people just won't accept those ideas. Well, you know what's happened in over 3 years? All of those ideas and many more are now part of the political mainstream.
Sanders is also taking shots at Howard Schultz, accusing the former Starbucks CEO of blackmailing Democrats. He claims that Schultz is threatening to run as an independent in order to force Democrats to choose a more moderate candidate.
Why is Howard Schultz on every television station in this country? Why are you quoting Howard Schultz? Because he's a billionaire, all right? There are a lot of people I know personally who work hard for a living, who make $40,000, $50,000 a year, who know a lot more about politics than, in all due respect, does Mr. Schultz. But because we have a corrupt political system, anybody who is a billionaire who can throw a lot of TV ads on television suddenly becomes very, very credible.
Okay, the moment we've been waiting for, Greg. Bernie, he's back. He's running.
I'm very excited. Before I get into his chances, having a socialist call a capitalist dangerous is rich. The socialist who fails to see that his platform only ends in misery. Socialism is great at promising something, but has no idea how to fulfill the promise, which is why it always ends up in coercion, misery, and ultimately death. You can look at Venezuela, Cuba, Cambodia, East Germany, Ethiopia, Romania, Poland, USSR. The only sad thing is, all of socialism is ugly and disgusting, but Bernie is likable. He's like your crazy uncle who maybe washes his hair once a week, doesn't think it's valuable to wash more. But the conflict is within his own party. The left loves his ideas, right? Tax and spend socialist. But he has 3 strikes against him. Old, white, and male. He stinks of Ben Gay and Jell-O. In the intersectional beauty pageant, he's Coyote Ugly.
All right. Do you think, Lawrence, that he was underestimated in 2016, but now overestimated in 2020?
Well, I think he was underestimated, but I believe people should take him seriously because although he won't win, it's a bigger move in play. For example, people thought his ideas were funny before, but then you got the AOCs of the world. You got the Presleys, the Tlaibs. So this new freshman class showed that you can actually get elected on running on these policies. But I have to blame Democrats for that because they didn't define their message. They didn't connect with voters. And so Bernie saw a void with the American people, and he connected with those people, much like how we got Donald Trump, because the Republican Party, the traditional Republicans, didn't connect with the people at home. And so they wanted someone that was going to make radical changes. They may not win a presidential race, but in the next 20 years, they may be at play.
Juan, is Bernie in some ways this time around a victim of his own success? Because he ran and he got all the Bernie bros were so excited, and then he gets frustrated because the superdelegates. And now he basically has people that support his ideas, but the DNC has changed the rules. If you're going to run in the Democratic National Committee primary, then you have to register as a Democrat, something he has actually never done.
No, I think he will play. Let me just say, I think that the question is, does he register as a Democrat? It's an interesting one for me because I think for him it would be an identity shift.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always been the Vermont socialist. And I think it's added to part of his allure in that he's willing to go there and not respond to the taunts from the far right about socialism. And by the way,
Or just normal people.
no, I don't think normal
people know
no.
socialism. It's not a taunt. It's a reality that's ended in death.
No, I don't think you want to say that there are no normal people in Denmark, Norway, England, Germany, France. There are lots of people there. And I don't think you want to say it's not normal people in the United States who back Social Security, Medicare, VA, or
That's socialism?
agriculture. All subsidies,
That's socialism?
all the government making decisions about how to help people get through this life.
It's in a decentralized
No,
system. It's
yes,
different.
that's right. So guess what? You want to label all these programs socialist, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're for people in our country, Greg, who are struggling
I
with
am
their
for a
finances
safety net.
at
I'm not
this
for
moment.
socialism.
Speaking
Why?
of social
But
There's a difference.
But there's a difference at a time when we have rampant income inequality in this country.
What does that mean?
I tell you what it means. I'll tell you exactly what it means. It means, Lawrence, when you think about it, it's something like 0.6% of Americans right now, the top 1%, have more wealth
This is
than
not
the bottom
true,
60%.
But they're there for
what-
1
that's
year.
But you
rampant
painted it as
Can I get in here for a
inequality.
second?
They're there for 1
Yeah.
year.
Yes,
Let's
Katie.
go to the break.
Let Katie have the
Before we get
floor.
to
Okay.
a break, can I say something? First of all, Juan, you're wrong. There are more millionaires and billionaires now than there ever have been, but
That's
the middle
true.
class and the medium income has gone up, and the gap has actually closed between the rich and the poor. Back to Bernie Sanders.
Okay, go
He's
ahead.
an
But
he's
let me
an
just say,
authentic
that
guy.
is, talk about covering over reality. The reality is that right now, I just did this last week in a column.
Okay,
and
I
it
don't
said
think this is the
7 million
point, but-
people right now
Okay.
in our country, 3 months behind on car payments. 40% of the country can't afford an emergency
And
$400 expenditure.
Juan, there are 6
And that's
million,
temporary
there are
'cause they're
6
often
million
young.
jobs that are unfilled right now
They're
in
what?
America. There are 6 million jobs that are unfilled right now in America. AOC just ran Amazon out of New York, which was going to pay people $150,000 a year. But back to Bernie Sanders. He's an authentic guy selling a fraud. It's a shame he doesn't wash his hair that often because he has lots of bathrooms in 3 different homes to wash his hair, right? This is a guy who is claiming that the government can take care of you, who back in his early days of his socialist screed said that bread lines were a representation of a good government functioning. People actually standing in line and waiting for bread in places like Nicaragua and South America. He wants that kind of socialism. So when you bring up European-style socialism, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Bernie Sanders, who has embraced Venezuela, embraced Cuba, and has said the definition of a good economy is when people are standing in line begging the government because they were starving for some bread or some soup, whatever's left over.
No, what he's saying is a government that responds to human need is a good government.
Okay,
You know what
a
that
government
goes
that
back
allows
to?
people
That
to
goes
get
back
what
to
they
the
want
New
and
Deal.
need on their own is a better
No,
government.
I'm all for it. But when you are in a situation like we're in America today, when you have heightened income
Juan,
inequality,
what has the New Deal done
government
for
should
American
respond.
poverty in this country?
And by the way,
Nothing.
Lawrence is on to something. Don't ignore what he said about Bernie being the exact
Can I ask
opposite
Greg one
of
more
Donald
question?
Trump. The populist energy in the
I'm,
country.
going to ask Greg one more question. I'm not going to ask if I can. Okay, so one of the things he says about Howard Schultz, he said he's trying to blackmail the Democrats, right? Because if I run and he runs, and basically he's going to try to split us. That's blackmail, which I think is a little bit of a strange thing for him to claim.
And it's racist.
But couldn't you also say that when the Democrats are frustrated at Howard Schultz, and they say you're going to help Trump win re-election? Couldn't it also be said that, no, Bernie, you're going to help Trump win re-election?
Absolutely. The best thing that could happen for Trump is for Bernie Sanders to get the nomination, to put an actual bona fide socialist up against a capitalist in a country that created the greatest economic system known to man. What an education it'll be for people in college and high school to learn about what socialism has done in all of these countries. And he's not running just against Trump. He's running against Venezuela.
Right.
Because while he's out there, Venezuela will be crumbling. God knows what it'll be like in 2020, whether it'll be there or not. So we want Bernie to be up there, and maybe he can choose another socialist or
Double socialist?
AOC.
Socialist square?
AOC's still too young.